Hey folks, this is Kalani. Patch 10.0.7 is right around the corner, and I think it might release sooner than many people would think. Some data mined items related to upcoming holiday events give us some clues, but I think the dev team might be recreating a pattern of a patch release schedule that would rival that of the infamous Legion days. So let's take a closer look and see if we can figure out when patch 10.0.7 might release, and whether we can use that information to draw up release dates for the rest of the patches that were promised for this year. Now before we jump in, be sure to hit up that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. So to start with, there are some items in patch 10.0.7 PTR builds that tie into some upcoming holiday events in-game. So this is going to be similar with patch 10.05 when the Love is in the Air changes that were part of that patch that kinda gave us a limit on when that patch could go live, but still include those new holiday items. The most notable one so far for 10.07 is the Drake's Big Basket of Eggs, a new toy that equips your dragon riding Drake with a festive basket. This item should be available to purchase from the Noble Garden event vendors, so besides being really cute, this item could give us some strong hints towards when we might see 10.07 hit live servers. The Noble Garden event will start on April 10th, which is a Monday, so for the patch to go live before the event starts, it would have to hit live servers by no later than Tuesday, April 4th. I actually think that is a very realistic time frame. The patch has been evolving quite nicely on the PTR, the new zone is there with pretty much all of the activities available for testing, the new vault feature seems to be shaping up well too, the Primordial Stone and Onyx Amulet gearing option is being fleshed out, and the various tinkering options are there, like removing sockets, smashing stones and upgrading them, so that's all in place. There doesn't seem to be too much left to actually add into the patch for the PTR to get tested, so at this point it's probably fine-tuning smaller details and making sure that the classes that are getting the big changes like Ret Paladin are in an acceptable state before the release date rolls around. So early April is definitely achievable, but I know some folks might say that just because there's a holiday item in the patch, it doesn't mean it will be available this year. The patch could just be adding it in for next year, and I guess you are right, it's not a given, but we do have a bit more info to work with. If we look at the roadmap that was unveiled earlier in the expansion, we can see that patch 10.07 is marked to release sometime in spring, which starts in March, so any time after March is within that scope, and then if these new items are going to be part of the Noble Garden holiday event this year, the patch will need to release before that April 4th mark. April 4th is in spring, so that checks that box. But then underneath the patch 10.07 info on this roadmap, one highlight is Holiday Update. I imagine any new holiday items we find in the patch will most likely be included in the patch in a playable form if one of the highlighted aspects of 10.07 is Holiday Update, which gives this April 4th deadline a bit more weight. So that gives us a general idea of when this patch could release, or at least give us a latest possible date to satisfy those data mined requirements, but I think we can get a little closer by comparing some other timelines. Now before we continue, today's video is sponsored by Clash of Clans. Clash of Clans is a fantasy base builder where you're the chief of your very own village. You'll need to build up your base, recruit an army of troops, gather resources, and use them to become the best chief your village could hope for. Where you place buildings is going to be important too, because you'll have to defend your base against incoming attacks, so creative uses and placements of defensive structures like cannons, towers, and walls will make all the difference. You can earn more resources by taking part in the extensive single-player campaign, and you can also plunder resources from attacking other players, so it's an ever-changing and evolving battle of wits to build the best base you can while trying to poke holes in the enemy player's defenses. The key to victory here is to utilize the various different units, troops, and spells to maximize your rewards. Certain units are great for taking down base defenses, others will deal more damage to walls, while ranged units can safely deal damage from a distance. Using each unit's strengths creatively will let you gather more resources to build and upgrade your home base. There are also various challenges and seasons to take part in for even more rewards. You can join a clan to combine forces and face off against others in the clan wars, and there are various other game modes to explore and enjoy, so there's always something to keep you entertained. So use the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen to download Clash of Clans for free on Android or iOS to start your adventures today. Now getting back to the video, let's look at patch 10.05 and how long that took to reach live servers. 10.05 first hit PTR servers on December 15th, and the patch itself launched on January 24th, giving us a very short PTR cycle of just 5.5 weeks. If we take that and apply it to patch 10.0.7, we get a very early release date indeed. 10.07 went up onto the PTR on January 31st, so 5 to 6 weeks after that would put us somewhere in the ballpark of March 7th or March 14th. That seems to be way too soon, but I do think that 10.05 was probably a much faster cycle for a few reasons. To start with, the holidays in December would have taken a lot of time away from the patch as a whole, so to be safe, the dev team probably had a lot more work done for 10.05 before it went onto the PTR, and it was also a smaller patch in general. We didn't have the new zone and everything that goes along with it, and I feel like 10.07 is also bringing more class changes, so that might affect the overall length of a testing cycle. I think 8 to 9 weeks is probably where we will see most PTR cycles land, which in the case of 10.07 would put the release date around the end of March or early April, which fits in with where the patch could land due to the earlier data mining information. It's important to note though that Blizzard has smashed out a 0.5 patch in just 5 weeks from PTR start to patch release, so if we ever think they might be getting behind later in the year, they might just surprise us by pumping out another patch in record time. But I think the real key here is that content roadmap that Blizzard unveiled earlier in the expansion. Their current plan is very ambitious, 6 content patches in 2023. We've had 10.0.5 that introduced some new content to play and improved upon many areas of the game. Patch 10.0.7 looks to be right around the corner, and we're actually getting a brand new zone with that patch, so it's not even really a minor patch at that point. There are new features and systems, all sorts of new rewards, as well as some very useful new catch-up mechanics, so it's going to be a pretty big patch all things considered. Now take into account that we have 2 major content patches which should also include new zones, new raids, new seasons, and everything that goes along with that. We can expect profession updates and additions, new affixes, different dungeon rotations, new story content, maybe new factions to earn rep and renown with. The major content patches are what really move the game along, so those are probably going to be massive. But then we also have another 0.5 and 0.7 patch planned for between 10.1 and 10.2, and all of that is in just 12 months. But that actually creates a super simple patch release cycle, 1 patch every 2 months, and it seems like that might actually be the plan. Dragonflight released on November 28th. About 2 months later, patch 10.05 released on January 24th. Note that also includes the 2-week holiday, so kudos to Blizzard for getting that patch out so quickly. Personally, I think patch 10.07 will release on March 28th or April 4th. I'm leaning towards March 28th to keep with the 2-month cadence, so that's our immediate timeline, but everything else also fits into this very well. Another 2 months after the end of March would bring us to the end of May or start of June. That fits perfectly for patch 10.1, which needs to fall between the spring patch 10.07 and summer patch of 10.15. That would also be 6 months after the launch of Dragonflight, and we know that the general time frame for a season is between 4 to 6 months. If they really want to zero in on a 2-year expansion cycle, and they want each expansion to have 4 seasons, 6-month seasons would be perfect. Having the 2 minor patches in between that actually have content also helps to extend the life cycle of a season, so 6-month seasons shouldn't be too bad to deal with. If we follow that logic, then we should see patch 10.15 in late July, patch 10.17 would arrive in late September, and then patch 10.2 in Season 3 should kick off in late November, which would also be 1 year after Dragonflight's launch. So if the dev team can keep up with this incredible pace, we won't have to guess when a new patch will release. We'll just get new content every 2 months, which is the fastest we have ever had content releases in WoW. That even beats out Legion's infamous 11-week patch cycle, and while Legion did not have quite as many small patches in between, they did have a longer end of expansion patch, so we will probably end up with more content in Dragonflight, and it will be more evenly paced. The only major problem I see with such a quick patch cadence is that if one patch gets delayed for whatever reason, that could have a knock-on effect for the rest of the year, or even for the rest of the expansion. I also hope the dev team isn't in a constant state of crunch, because if these patches are only just and so making it out to their release date, that could affect the overall quality of content coming our way, and burning out your workforce for short-term content pumping will probably lead to long-term instability, so I hope the dev team is comfortable with the pace and they can keep to it, otherwise I don't think 2-month patches would really be worth it. So, I strongly believe patch 10.07 could release as early as March 28th, with consistent patches being delivered throughout the rest of the year every 2 months or so, and hopefully beyond. But when do you think patch 10.07 and patch 10.1 will release? Do you think we will see a patch every 2 months? And do you think the dev team can keep to that tight schedule? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to all of our members here on YouTube. You can see the names floating by on screen. If you like to add your name to the end of every video with a special shout out at the start of the next video, you can find links in the description over to Patreon or click the join button just below this video. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.